Welcome back to the Deep Dive Literature. If you love exploring the world of books with us, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future deep dives.
Definitely.
Today, we're taking a journey into Homer's The Odyssey,
Oh, excellent.
specifically books 8 through the 6th, where Odysseus is finally heading home after the Trojan War.
It's a great section.
It's packed with so much adventure and symbolism, and I can't wait to dig into it with you.
It's these books are really fascinating because we get to see Odysseus not just as the warrior we know him as, but as a storyteller, a very cunning strategist.
Oh, yeah.
And even a man who's susceptible to temptation at times.
Right, he's human. He's a flawed hero. Okay, let's start by talking about his arrival in the land of the Phaeacians. He's shipwrecked, washed ashore.
Yeah.
And they're known for their hospitality, but there's got to be a deeper significance to this stop in his journey.
Absolutely. The Phaeacians are incredible seafarers themselves.
Right.
And storytellers, which kind of mirrors Odysseus's own talents.
That's so true.
And the fact that they welcome him so lavishly with open arms and they're genuinely interested in hearing his tales.
You're right, you want to hear his stories.
It offers him a moment of respite, and recognition after years of hardship.
Yeah.
It's like a space where he can finally process everything that's happened to him
Process it all.
and share his story without judgment.
Right. He's amongst his people almost in a way.
In a way, yeah.
It's interesting, though, that even though he's so eager to get home to Ithaca, he spends quite a bit of time with the Phaeacians. He participates in their games, tells them all about his adventures. Why is this so important to the story, do you think?
It's crucial. I mean, this is a crucial part of Odysseus's journey, both physically and mentally.
Huh.
The athletic games, for example, they're not just for entertainment.
Right.
They give Odysseus a chance to reassert his heroic identity.
To prove himself.
To prove himself, yeah.
Yep.
Remind himself and the Phaeacians of his strength and his skill.
What about the storytelling? How does that play into it?
Oh, it's huge. It allows him to frame his own experiences, shape his narrative, and present himself as the hero who has endured all these incredible trials.
Yeah, he gets to control the narrative.
Exactly. And it's almost therapeutic, too.
Oh, interesting.
Helps him make sense of all the chaotic events he's been through.
That's true. I hadn't thought of it that way before.
Yeah, it's like he's reclaiming his story.
Reclaiming his identity.
Its identity, yeah.
So let's dive into some of these famous stories that he recounts.
Okay, let's do it.
He starts with the Cyclopes, right? Where his crew's disobedience leads to disaster. It's a pretty short episode, but it sets a powerful tone for what's to come.
Oh, it definitely does. It establishes this really key theme that runs throughout the Odyssey.
What's that?
The consequences of reckless action.
Okay.
And the importance of respecting boundaries.
Okay.
Both human and divine.
Oh, that's interesting.
It kind of foreshadows the challenges that Odysseus is going to face later on.
Right.
In controlling his men and, navigating all the dangers that lie ahead.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And then we get to the Cyclops Polyphemus.
Oh, yes.
I mean, talk about a memorable monster.
It's a big one.
He's huge.
Yeah.
Blinding a giant and escaping under a flock of sheep.
So clever.
It's pure brilliance.
It really is. This episode is like a textbook example of Odysseus's cunning and resourcefulness.
Yeah, he's smart.
But it also reveals a darker side to him.
Oh, how so?
Remember how he taunts Polyphemus?
Oh, yeah. It reveals his name.
Exactly. And that's an act of hubris.
Oh, right.
And it directly leads to Poseidon's wrath.
Ah, yeah.
And, years of hardship for Odysseus.
But it backfires.
Majorly. It's a reminder that even heroes can be flawed.
Yeah, they're human.
And that their actions have lasting repercussions.
So it's not just about Odysseus being clever.
Right.
It's also about the consequences of pride and arrogance.
Exactly. He could have escaped anonymously.
Right.
But he needed that recognition, that desire to be acknowledged.
To be known.
As the mastermind. Exactly. And it ultimately sets him back.
It's a good lesson for all of us.
It is, yeah.
So next he ends up with Cyrca, who turns his men into pigs.
Oh, yeah.
It's where things get really surreal.
That's one way to put it.
What do you make of Cyrca?
She's a fascinating figure.
She is.
Who embodies both temptation and transformation.
Interesting.
The whole turning his men into pigs thing. It's not just a bizarre punishment.
Right.
It symbolizes what happens when you lose your humanity through indulgence. And lack of self-control.
So it's a commentary on human nature.
Absolutely. And Odysseus, through his negotiation with Circe and his time on her island,
He spends a whole year there.
Yeah, he faces a test of his own will and desires.
It's like his own personal trial.
It is. A reminder that even the most determined hero
Can be swayed.
Yeah, by temptation.
Very cool. And then Circe sends him to the underworld.
Yes.
Which is probably one of the most famous scenes in the Odyssey.
It's iconic.
It's so interesting.
It is.
Why do you think this journey to the underworld is so important?
It's a literal and symbolic descent.
Whoa.
Odysseus confronts death and his own mortality.
Head on.
Yes, and it's where he receives that crucial information about his future.
Yeah, the prophecy.
The prophecy about the challenges he'll face trying to get home.
So he meets with his mother,
Yes.
Achilles,
Mm-hmm.
and the prophet Tiresias.
Yeah, who gives him that roadmap.
That roadmap for the rest of his journey.
But it's not just about physical obstacles.
What else is it about?
It outlines the psychological and spiritual trials that await him,
Oh.
the temptations he has to resist,
Right.
and the sacrifices he'll be forced to make. So the Underworld episode isn't just about getting information.
It's about preparation.
It's about preparation, forcing Odysseus to confront his past
Yeah.
and steel himself for the really difficult choices ahead.
So he leaves the underworld armed with knowledge.
Yes.
And a lot of foreboding, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely.
And he returns to Circe.
He does.
And she gives him even more specific warnings about the dangers ahead.
Like a survival guide.
It is.
Yeah.
Siren, Scylla, and Charybdis, the cattle of the sun god. It's not just, mythical creatures. They represent all the temptations and perils that can lead someone astray from their path.
Exactly. These creatures and the challenges they represent,
Yeah.
they force Odysseus to confront his weaknesses and make these impossible choices, ultimately testing his resilience and leadership.
It's really a test of his character.
It is.
And despite all these warnings, tragedy strikes.
Yeah.
His crew, they can't resist temptation.
Yep.
Disobey his orders, and it leads to their destruction. He's shipwrecked alone and washes ashore on Calypso's island.
Poor Odysseus.
Yeah.
But Calypso's island, while idyllic.
Right? It's beautiful. It's paradise.
It's paradise, yeah. But it becomes like a prison for him.
How so?
Well, it represents a different kind of temptation.
Okay.
The allure of comfort and ease and, forgetting your purpose.
Forgetting what you're meant to do.
Yeah. His 7-year stay there highlights that inner struggle between, settling for a life of ease.
Yeah, just staying there.
And that burning desire to go home to family.
Right. It's a test of his commitment.
Absolutely.
He could stay with Calypso, but he chooses that harder path.
He does.
To continue his journey.
It shows his strength.
It does. And I think it's also interesting to remember that even though he longs to return home, Odysseus is a complex character.
He is.
He's drawn to adventure, too.
Mm-hmm.
To the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So Calypso's island forces him to confront these conflicting desires.
Yeah.
And ultimately reaffirm his commitment to his family and kingdom.
It's a defining moment for him.
It is. So finally, thanks to the gods, Odysseus escapes Calypso's island and lands back in Ithaca.
He made it.
He did. But instead of rushing to his family...
Right. You'd think that's what he would do.
I know.
Yeah.
He's disguised by Athena.
What?
And he chooses to remain hidden. Why this elaborate charade?
It's a brilliant narrative strategy.
Oh, right.
Yeah. The disguise allows him to assess the situation in Ithaca, test the loyalty of those around him, and gather information about the suitors who have taken over his palace.
Like he's doing reconnaissance.
Exactly. He's stepping back into his kingdom as an observer.
Oh, wow.
A strategist gathering intelligence before he launches his campaign.
It's like he's playing a really high-stakes game.
He is. He's not just Odysseus the king returning home. He's Odysseus the tactician.
The master of disguise.
Yes, and he's preparing for a battle. That will decide the fate of his family and his kingdom.
It sets the stage for a really thrilling climax. I can't wait to see what happens next. It's incredible how much happens in these few books of the Odyssey.
I know, it's a whirlwind.
We see Odysseus battling monsters, facing moral dilemmas, and ultimately evolving as a character.
He goes through so much, and it all leads to this really powerful question.
Who is that?
What will Odysseus do next? How will he navigate the challenges that await him in his own home?
That's a great question. And we'll dive into those questions in the next part of our deep dive into the Odyssey. So stay tuned for more.
Can't wait. It's really interesting how Odysseus's return to Ithaca isn't this like triumphant homecoming.
Yeah, you'd think he'd be greeted with open arms.
Oh, right.
After all this time.
But it's more like a stealthy infiltration.
He's sneaking around.
He is. And it adds this whole other layer of complexity to his character.
I like it. It's very clever.
Yeah.
So he's back on home ground, but operating in a totally different mode.
Yeah, it's like he's become a stranger in his own kingdom.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And he chooses to first reveal himself to Eumaeus, his loyal swineherd.
Right.
And later to his old nurse, Euryclea.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think he starts with them? Why not go straight to Penelope or Telemachus?
Well, these are characters who represent unwavering loyalty, unconditional love. They're like touchstones for Odysseus.
Ah, that's nice.
They remind him of the values he's fighting to reclaim and their recognition of him.
They know it's him right away.
Especially Euryclea. She identifies him by a scar, and it reaffirms his identity.
Like, yes, this is me, I'm home.
Exactly. And it strengthens his resolve.
To take back what's his...
Yeah, it's a poignant contrast to the chaos and betrayal he finds in his own palace.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Things aren't good there.
Not at all. So these intimate reunions with Eumaeus and Euryclea give him the emotional grounding he needs.
Okay.
Before he faces the suitors.
Those guys are the worst.
They've usurped his authority.
They've taken over.
They've disrespected his household.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
So he needs to, center himself first.
He does, yeah. And it's a strategic move, too.
How so?
Well, he needs allies.
Right, of course.
And Eumaeus and Euryclea will prove invaluable in the fight to come.
I bet they're ready to throw down.
Oh, yeah, they're loyal.
So then we have Odysseus interacting with the suitors themselves.
Oh, this is a good part.
He's disguised as a beggar, enduring their insults and mockery.
It's rough.
Talk about a test of patience.
Oh, it's incredible. It's an incredible display of self-control.
This is Odysseus we're talking about.
Exactly. A proud warrior used to command and respect.
Right.
Yet he forces himself to play this role.
Of like a nobody.
Yeah, subservient, almost invisible.
That must have been so hard for him.
Oh, I'm sure it was. But there's more to it than just patience.
What do you mean?
There's a strategic element here, too.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued.
This disguise allows him to observe the suitors up close.
To gather intel.
Yes. Assess their strengths and weaknesses, their alliances and rivalries.
Planning his moves.
He's getting all the information he needs before he makes his move.
And then Penelope announces this archery contest.
Oh, yes.
The winner gets to marry her.
High stakes.
It's a challenge that seems perfectly designed for Odysseus' return, don't you think?
It does, whether it was orchestrated by Penelope or Athena.
I always thought it was Athena pulling the strings.
Maybe so. But it plays to Odysseus' strengths, you know?
He's a great archer.
He is. It gives him this public platform to prove his identity and reclaim his authority.
Let's spark it.
And it cleverly exposes the suitors' inadequacy.
Oh, how so?
Well, they're all pretenders to the throne.
Yeah, they're all wannabes.
Exactly. And they lack the physical and moral strength to wield Odysseus's bow.
They can't even string it?
Nope. Each suitor fails and the tension just builds.
The anticipation.
Right. Everyone's waiting for Odysseus to reveal himself. And when he finally steps forward...
Still disguised as the beggar?
It's electric.
So good.
It's like the classic underdog story.
I love it.
But with epic stakes.
Yeah, no kidding. So the suitors mock him.
Of course they do.
But Odysseus just strings the bow effortlessly.
Like it's nothing.
And shoots the arrow straight through those 12 axe heads.
Boom. Mic drop moment.
So good.
It's a total reversal of power.
The tables have turned?
They have. In that instant, everything shifts. The suitors are exposed as frauds.
Their little game is over?
It's over. Their arrogance, their entitlement, it's all shattered.
Yeah, Odysseus just took him down a peg.
And through this simple act of archery...
Right, like it's so easy for him.
He reclaims his identity...
He's back.
...as king warrior husband.
The trifecta. So identity revealed.
Man.
The battle is on. Odysseus, aided by Telemachus, the swineherd and the cowherd.
It's a team effort.
They unleash their fury on those suitors.
It's a long time coming.
It is. It's a pretty brutal scene.
Yeah.
Like a culmination of years of pent-up rage.
Definitely.
And this fierce fight for justice.
It's intense, but it's important to remember the context, you know?
Right. These guys weren't just annoying house guests.
Exactly. These suitors were a threat.
To everything.
To Odysseus's family, his property, the order of his kingdom.
So it's not just revenge.
No.
It's about restoring order and justice.
Exactly. Odysseus is reclaiming his rightful place.
He's the king.
And punishing those who violated the sacred bonds of hospitality.
Which is like a huge deal in ancient Greece.
Huge. And, you know, they were trying to usurp his authority.
It's not cool.
It's not. But it's worth noting that even in this moment of retribution, Odysseus shows restraint.
Really?
He does. He spares those who showed him kindness
Oh.
or who played like a minor role in the suitor schemes.
So he's not totally heartless.
No, he's not. He's making calculated choices,
Okay.
guided by this sense of justice and mercy.
So he's not just a warrior driven by rage.
Nope.
He's a king restoring balance to his kingdom.
That's it. And this battle, it marks a turning point in the Odyssey.
How so?
Well, the external threats are gone.
The suitors are defeated.
But Odysseus's journey isn't over yet.
There's still more.
There's one more big thing.
What is it?
He needs to convince Penelope that he's really her husband.
Oh, right. She doesn't know it's him yet.
Yeah, after 20 years and all this drama, he has to fight another battle.
This time for his wife's heart and trust.
Exactly. It's a reminder that true homecoming isn't just about returning to a physical space.
There's more than that.
It's about rebuilding those broken relationships.
Yeah.
And reestablishing trust.
I can see why Penelope would be hesitant.
Oh, absolutely. She's been deceived before.
And Odysseus just suddenly appearing after all this time.
It must seem unreal, almost like a trick.
I bet she's wary.
Oh, for sure. So how does he win her over?
Yeah, how does he prove it's really him?
He does it through this act of intimacy
Okay.
and shared memory.
What does he do?
He describes their marriage bed
Oh.
in detail.
Okay.
This bed that was built from an olive tree,
Wow.
rooted in their home.
That's so romantic.
It is, right? It's a secret, a symbol of their enduring love, something only Odysseus could know.
It's a beautiful moment.
It is
It's a testament to their bond.
a bond that has survived separation hardship, even death itself.
I'm getting chills.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the importance of recognition.
Not just physical recognition, right?
No, a recognition of the soul.
Deeper.
Yes. The shared history that binds two people together. It transcends disguise and time.
I love that. So it seems like Odysseus has finally achieved his goal.
He made it.
He's home, reunited with his family. His kingdom is restored.
It's a happy ending.
But is his journey truly over?
That's the question that hangs over this seemingly happy ending.
Oh, there's more.
Remember that prophecy Tiresias gave him in the underworld?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Odysseus still has one final task to fulfill.
We left off with Odysseus back in Ithaca, reunited with his family and kingdom restored. But you mentioned there's that prophecy from Tiresias looming over him. It feels like there's still something else he needs to do.
Yeah, you're right. The prophecy wasn't just about getting home. It was about finding lasting peace,
Right, okay.
and atonement.
So even though he's back and things seem good, there's still this unresolved tension.
Yeah, from his past actions.
What exactly does Odysseus have to do to appease Poseidon?
Well, Tiresias told him to go on one last journey.
Another one.
Yeah, a symbolic pilgrimage.
Okay.
He has to travel inland carrying an oar on his shoulder.
An oar. Inland. That's a strange image.
It is, right? Until he reaches a place where the people have never seen the sea.
They've never even seen the sea.
Or tasted salt.
Wow. It's like he's bridging these two worlds.
Exactly. The world of the seafaring adventurer and the world of those who live inland, far from the ocean.
So it's about more than just physically traveling somewhere.
Yeah, it's about humility.
Yeah.
Recognizing the power of the gods and the limits of human actions.
He's got to let go of some of that pride.
Yeah, it's about Odysseus letting go of that warrior identity.
Okay.
And embracing a more peaceful, land-bound existence.
Like a ritual cleansing.
It is a way of making amends for the harm he's caused.
It's like carrying the oar inland. He's acknowledging the consequences of his actions.
Right, and submitting to the will of the gods.
It's really interesting how this final journey is so different from all his other adventures.
I know, right?
There are no monsters to fight, no magic to deal with, just a simple act of obedience.
Yeah, and sacrifice.
It shows how much he's changed.
It does. He's gone from relying on his cunning and strength to embracing humility and seeking forgiveness.
It reminds us that even the greatest heroes have to own up to their mistakes.
And make things right.
So Odysseus completes this journey, plants the oar in the ground, makes sacrifices to Poseidon. Does this finally bring him peace?
It does. Poseidon is appeased, and Odysseus can finally return to Ithaca for good.
You can just live a normal life.
Yeah, enjoy a peaceful life with Penelope, Telemachus, his father, Laertes.
It's the ending he deserves.
It is a hard-earned peace that came at a great cost.
The Odyssey is such a powerful story.
It really is.
It's about adventure and homecoming, but also about consequences
The importance of humility.
and the power of love and family.
It's a story that still resonates with us today.
I think because it speaks to those really basic human desires.
Yeah, the longing for adventure,
The need for home.
that struggle to find our place in the world.
Odysseus goes through so much,
He does.
but he never gives up.
And it makes you wonder what happens next.
Right. What does Odysseus do with his second chance?
Yeah. Does he settle into a quiet life in Ithaca?
Or does that adventurous spirit take over again?
It's a great question for our listeners to think about.
I like that. The Odyssey ends, but Odysseus' story in a way continues.
In our imaginations.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a journey that stays with you long after you finished reading it.
It makes you think about your own life,
Your own journeys.
the choices you make along the way.
And maybe that's the real power of Homer's epic.
Yeah. Its ability to spark conversations
Challenge our assumptions.
and remind us of the power of storytelling.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the Odyssey.
Sad to see it end.
I know, but thank you for joining us on this epic journey.
It's been fun.
Be sure to tune in for our next deep dive, where we'll explore another amazing work of literature.
Can't wait.
And as always, thank you for listening to the Deep Dive Podcast.